Hey everybody, welcome to the Hopcast.
Thanks for not turning it off right away, everybody.
I'm Brad Chmielewski.
My name is Ken Hunnemeder.
And today we're hanging out at SmallBar.
Yeah, we're on Fullerton, the Fullerton location of SmallBar, one of our favorites. We like to hang out here quite a bit, and so we're going to be hanging out. We have some beer to drink, and we wanted some nitrogen dispensed beer, and they always have a line here. Right. Of something pouring on nitrogen.
And I'm pretty sure they got the Lefthand
Milk Stout is a pretty regular occurrence here.
They usually have that or Guinness or...
I think it's usually that.
Or what's the North Coast one sometimes that's on?
They have the Old Raspy?
The Old Raspy, yeah. I think that's on Nitro sometimes.
Okay.
But today, Lefthand.
And so we're going to basically just talk about the difference between dispensing on CO2 and nitrogen and drink us some delicious beers. So let's get some.
Let's order some up. Well, those are looking nice and heady.
Yeah, you're going to expect with these nitrogen dispensed beers to have a nice, dense, thick, like creamy head. We've had these sitting out for a little while, so they've kind of dropped off a tad, but as soon as you get that first pour, it's nice, thick, super creamy.
Yeah.
Beautiful appearance for the beer.
And this one's really dark.
Right.
And it's only like a 5.5% stout too, so it's pretty light in alcohol, but just gonna pack a lot of flavor.
This Lefthand Milk Stout has kind of cornered itself as basically the milk stout on the market. Like if you're looking to create one, you are usually looking to this for Does it glow? People use it as a base a lot. So
should we dive in?
I think we should.
Cheers. Yeah,
that's nice.
Nice and creamy, as you'd expect from the stout.
Right, and there's a lot of things to talk about with this beer because you've got an interesting style in the milk stout, which some people haven't heard of before, and then the different way of dispensing the beer. But I guess we could start here. A mixed milk stout is going to have this like underlying creaminess and a little bit of sweetness to it. And you're going to get that from adding lactose sugar into the boil, which is not fermentable. So you're adding sugar that won't ever ferment out. It's going to stay there. And that's basically what's giving you the sweetness on the beer. So it's a little milky, but it's more just like a nice sweet tone. So they sometimes call these sweet stouts.
Right. So is that usually additional sugar that it's like an extra sugar, or do they take into account that sugar's in the sweetness, but it's not getting eaten away, so the alcohol is going to be lower?
Right. They take it into account because you don't want something too sweet.
Yeah.
Because as you said before, it's like a 5.5% beer. So I mean, this isn't a huge imperial stout, so you don't want it to be too sweet because there's not a ton of extra stuff to balance that out.
Sure. Okay.
But there's just a little kick of sweetness, and that's where you get the name.
Okay. And so by putting on Nitro, it's kind of changing the flavor a little bit because it's definitely different on Nitro versus the bottle, which is now they have the Nitro version of it. But
right, I think it's Colorado only. They just came out with I'm sure many people have seen the Guinness bottles that have the widget in it, and so Lefthand is now doing that with this beer. But I believe it's just Colorado only at the moment. Most likely with plans to distribute later on. But the purpose of using nitrogen is just to kind of, I mean, it plays perfectly with milk stout because you already have a lot of creaminess to it, and the nitrogen itself is just going to add to that. And basically, the reason that it does that is the nitrogen has much smaller bubbles physically than CO2. So you'll notice when you drink it, there's a lot more bubbles, but they're super tiny. Whereas CO2, you kind of have some of those biting bubbles that kind of like or make the beer crisper. So the fact that these bubbles are much smaller gives you the mouthfeel that's very round.
Okay. Yeah. It does feel balanced with the sweetness and just like the body, and it's just like it doesn't feel heavy either.
Right. That's a big one with milk stouts, when they start to feel heavy if you're adding too much of that lactose that doesn't ferment out, and then just is super sweet and cloying and just like kind of gross. They've done a bang up job, I will say, on this beer. This is a favorite of mine for sure.
So do you like it better on Nitro, or do you like it better just straight up?
I like the Nitro.
Okay.
I like to be able to put it in my beard.
Don't we all? Yeah, it's neat to see, like, Lefthand's kind of like the only people that have the widget in the U.S., the only, like, craft beer
I think so.
thing now. So that's kind of interesting, and they're, like, kind of pioneering that American Nitro.
I'm sure that cost them a lot of money to do, so but it's pretty cool to be able to have a Nitro Lefthand Milk Stout in your living room.
Sure. And the widget's kind of just like when your cap pops open, it sort of releases the
when the pressure variance differs from your opening the cap. When the pressure releases, that widget will open up, and that's actually what carbonates the beer right when you pop the tap on.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Interesting technology, makes for interesting beers. Seeing some of the other style, like, milk stouts and stouts, that's kind of a common thing to see on nitrogen. Mm-hmm. But when you start experimenting with, I've seen IPAs on Nitro. And, personally, I've poured Two Brothers Domaine DuPage at my house on Nitro, and that was kind of nice for a little while. I wasn't really made for that, but I did it anyways. But
Then you noticed a big difference?
It's different. It's certainly different. I couldn't tell you better or worse. Actually, I probably enjoyed the regular one better. Okay. But it's fun to experiment with.
Yeah. So is the nitro gas more expensive? Is that, or like, what's the hookup that a lot more bars don't have?
Well, it wouldn't be the gas. Actually, I think the gas is cheaper.
Yes. Okay.
But you have to get a separate tower, or at least a separate faucet that has the creamer on it, and there's a special handle, a faucet mechanism that you need to pour nitrogen beers, and we'll show you that.
So the setup cost is just...
The setup cost, it's not astronomical. I mean, I have one. Can't be that bad. So.
Cool. So, and then I know you talked about this with your mom in Ireland, but you're talking about the rings, and I like how nitro beers and stouts like these leave the rings on your glass.
Nice lacing, yeah. So basically, what he's referring to is over in Ireland, when I was visiting there, they could tell where you're from by the number of rings on the glass. You may remember this episode that I did out there, but the Americans, I think it's like 12 rings for an American, and it's like 6 rings for an Englishman, and then it's like 2 rings for an Irishman. They're just pounding them back.
They don't have time. They're just getting drunk. Damn. I think we got quite a few rings going on.
Yeah, we've been we're educating at the moment. A little too busy to be chugging. Plus, I think we hit it kind of hard last night. Party! So yeah, I would encourage bars to experiment with that and open up a nitro line.
Yeah, and if you see it, definitely try it. Just like if you see the cask beers, try those, because they're going to be different from place to place, and it's neat to see what they're doing and what it tastes like.
Absolutely. So that's Nitro beers and Lefthand Milk Stout here at SmallBar on Fullerton.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Cheers.